Imagine this. You're lying still, the world quiet around you, and somewhere below your bed, beneath the floor, beneath the concrete and soil and stone, the planet itself is breathing. Not like we do, of course. Its lungs are made of molten rock and ancient pressure. Its heartbeat pulses through the slow drift of continents, through the quiet shift of mountains rising and falling over ages too vast for human thought. But still, it breathes. The Earth is not still. It never has been. Hey there, and welcome to Science for Sleep. I'm so glad you're here tonight. Maybe it's been a long day, or maybe you just want to fall asleep thinking about something bigger than all the noise of life above the surface. Either way, this is your moment to rest. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you'd like, tell me in the comments where you are listening from and what time it is where you are. I love knowing how the same story drifts through so many nights around the world. Now, if you're ready, let's begin. Beneath your feet lies an entire universe, one made not of stars but of stone. The ground that seems so firm is alive in its own slow rhythm. The crust of the Earth isn't a single solid shell. It's a mosaic of great plates that float on molten currents, drifting millimeter by millimeter, like slow ships in a vast subterranean ocean. If you could stand on the edge of time and watch a million years unfold in a single glance, you'd see continents gliding like leaves on water. Mountains would bloom upward, crumble, and rise again. Oceans would open and close like slow tidal breaths. The Earth moves so gently that we forget it's moving at all. But under every quiet field, every sleeping city, even under your own home, that motion never stops. The crust bends and shifts with the invisible weight of heat and gravity. Deep within, magma swirls in patterns older than the moon. It carries iron and nickel in molten rivers, feeding the planet's magnetic heart, the invisible shield that guards all life from the sun's restless storms. The ancient Greeks imagined the Earth as a living being, Gaia, mother of all. In their stories, mountains were her bones, rivers her veins, and volcanoes her breath. Centuries later, modern scientists, with all their instruments and equations, discovered something quietly poetic. They were right in their own way. The planet is not a dead rock. It's a living system, vast, self-balancing, endlessly renewing. If we could listen closely enough, perhaps we could hear it, the slow grinding of plates deep below, the whisper of minerals forming under pressure, the low murmur of magma moving through unseen caverns. A language of stone, patient and ancient, speaking in the rhythm of time itself. Even the soil beneath your garden is alive with tiny stories. Each grain of sand, each fleck of dust, was once part of something else. A mountain crushed by glaciers, a volcano's ash carried by wind, a coral reef turned to powder by the sea. The ground beneath us is a library of transformations, recording every cycle of birth and decay. And just as we exhale carbon into the air, the Earth exhales heat from its core. Deep fractures, faults, and vents allow that energy to rise, sometimes gently, as warm springs and fumaroles, sometimes violently, as volcanoes. But whether it's a sigh or a roar, it's the same impulse. The planet letting out its stored breath. The crust itself is surprisingly thin. If the Earth were an apple, the part we live on would be only the skin. Beneath it lies the mantle, a slow churning ocean of rock that flows over eons. And deeper still, a core of molten metal spinning at a different speed than the planet around it. That friction generates Earth's magnetic field, wrapping our world in invisible lines of force that shimmer outward into space like soft light. Without it, solar radiation would strip the atmosphere away, and none of us would be here to listen. Every mountain, every valley, every grain of sand has felt that energy pass through it. When you stand barefoot on the ground, what you touch is the surface of something vast, ancient, and conscious in its own way. Not conscious like us with thoughts or dreams, but awake in motion, awake in memory. Some scientists call this the Gaia hypothesis, the idea that the Earth behaves like a living organism, maintaining balance through feedback and adaptation. When volcanoes spew carbon, forests grow thicker to pull it back. When ice spreads across the poles, sunlight reflects more, cooling the planet. When heat builds, storms rise to carry it away. Everything moves in rhythm, one system breathing through another. Think of that the next time you hear thunder rolling across the horizon or feel the tremor of a faraway quake. Those are the murmurs of a living world, a being so old that even its quietest sigh takes centuries. And in a strange way, we are part of that breath. Every cell in your body contains elements forged in the Earth's crust, iron from the core, calcium from ancient seas, carbon from long-buried forests, the atoms that make you once moved through rock and ocean and sky. When you breathe out, tiny molecules of that same carbon return to the air, where they might one day settle again as limestone, coral, or crystal. We are not separate from the planet. We are its echo. Our heartbeat is tuned to its gravity. Our lungs follow the rhythm of its atmosphere. And even when we sleep, the deep earth keeps turning beneath us, whispering its quiet promise that nothing is ever truly still, not even in rest. So tonight, as you drift towards sleep, imagine the layers beneath you: soil, stone, magma, metal, each one humming softly in its own frequency. Imagine that you are floating above a vast, living world, safe within its warmth, rocked gently by its slow and endless pulse. You don't need to do anything now. Just listen. The planet is breathing, and so are you. And together, in this moment, you're part of the same quiet rhythm, the ancient heartbeat of a living Earth. Time moves differently beneath the ground. Above, we measure it in seconds, hours, days. We watch the sky and let the motion of the sun guide our sense of rhythm. But down below, inside the Earth, time drifts like a slow river of stone. It doesn't tick, it flows. It stretches so wide that 1,000,000 years can pass like the quiet exhale of a sleeping planet. Geologists call this deep time the unfathomable span of Earth's history, measured not in generations, but in eons. To understand geology is to let go of human speed. You can't rush it. You can only listen. If you close your eyes right now, imagine you could see through the crust below you. Picture the layers unfolding downward: ancient sediments, fossilized forests, buried volcanoes, long, extinct seabeds. Each layer marks a moment that once was now moments stacked one upon another until they became memory. The planet keeps them all. Every mountain is a frozen wave in this sea of time. What seems solid and eternal to us, granite cliffs, desert plateaus, marble temples, are actually fleeting shapes caught mid-motion. A stone arch will one day fall. A canyon will deepen until it becomes an ocean. The continents themselves are drifters, shifting inch by inch like slow dancers, circling in eternity. If you were to speed the planet up, to watch it in fast motion, you would see it breathe. Land rising, collapsing, shifting, rebuilding. You would see deserts flood and seas retreat, volcanoes bloom like fireflowers, ice creeping and melting in rhythmic tides. It would look alive because it is. In the beginning, when the world was new, there was no soil, no grass, no sound but fire. The crust was thin and trembling, and the air shimmered with heat. Over billions of years, the surface cooled, cracked, and began to fold in on itself. Rain fell for the first time, carving new paths through rock. Rivers were born, and from their patient work came valleys, canyons, and fertile plains. What we now call landscape was once chaos, learning how to rest. Every rock carries memory. If you hold one in your hand, smooth and heavy, you're holding a piece of time itself, something that has seen ages rise and fade. Granite remembers fire. Limestone remembers oceans. Sandstone remembers wind. They are storytellers, but their language is silence. Their words are shapes, pressure, and color. A single grain of sand may have taken 1,000 journeys, lifted by wind, carried by river, buried, crushed, reborn as new stone. Each cycle may last millions of years, and yet, in the vastness of Earth's story, it's just one heartbeat. The slow pulse of time can be difficult to feel, because we live so briefly. But if you've ever stood by the sea and watched the waves roll endlessly to shore, you've glimpsed it. The water that touches your toes is ancient. It may have once floated above mountains that no longer exist. The same molecules have been part of countless clouds, rains, and rivers, cycling through life since before there was life at all. Scientists believe the oldest minerals on Earth are tiny crystals of zircon, found in the deserts of Western Australia. They are 4.4 billion years old, almost as old as the planet itself. To hold one is to hold a piece of the Earth's first breath. It's humbling, like touching the edge of eternity. And yet, for all this unimaginable time, the planet is never still. Beneath the continents, the mantle churns in slow convection, lifting and swallowing entire plates in motions that shape every mountain, every ocean basin. One could say that geology is the art of patience, written in fire and silence. When we talk about ancient civilizations, we think in thousands of years: Egypt, Mesopotamia, China. But for the Earth, those are mere moments. The mountains that watched over the first humans have already begun to fade, and new ones are forming far below the surface. The Himalayas, for example, are still rising, born from the collision of India and Asia millions of years ago. Their peaks grow by a few millimeters each year, imperceptible to us, but relentless. Someday, they will crumble too, and the sediments of their fall will feed another generation of mountains somewhere else. The poet John McPhee once wrote that geologic time includes now. He meant that the story isn't finished. We are part of it, tiny, brief, but real. The concrete beneath your feet will one day erode into dust, become sediment, perhaps fuse into stone, and wait quietly for another age to rediscover it. Even our cities are just temporary patterns in the dance of rock and rain. And so, as you listen tonight, let your mind drift with that slow pulse. Imagine a timeline stretching beyond sight, past the dinosaurs, past the first cells, past even the birth of the moon. Imagine the Earth as a vast, slow clock, its hands made of continents, its seconds counted by the turning of the stars. Every breath you take is older than you think. The oxygen in your lungs was once trapped in ancient stone, released by the weathering of mountains and the bloom of algae in primeval seas. Your bones contain calcium, once part of coral reefs long gone. You are, in a very real sense, made of geological history. So tonight, if you feel small beneath the stars, remember this: you are not outside of time, you are inside it. The same slow processes that shape the mountains are shaping you, atom by atom, heartbeat by heartbeat. You are part of the Earth's long, unhurried story. Let the thought settle over you like soft dust. Let your mind slow to the rhythm of stone, because somewhere, deep below, the planet's heart still beats, not quickly, not loudly, but constantly, a pulse measured not in seconds, but in ages. And as you drift towards sleep, that slow, steady pulse will carry you, gently, into the next dream. Imagine standing before a mountain at dawn. The air is cold, still. Mist drifts like breath along its slopes. It feels eternal, solid, immovable, older than anything you could imagine. But beneath that calm surface lies a memory of fire. Every mountain, no matter how quiet, began in violence. What now looks serene was once molten, fluid, alive. Long before there were forests, cities, or even oceans as we know them, the Earth's crust convulsed with energy. Volcanoes were not occasional. They were everywhere, fountains of magma rising through a young, restless planet. Entire continents were still soft, their edges glowing with heat. The first mountains were not shaped by erosion or time. They were born in firestorms. Deep beneath our feet, that same fire still burns. The mantle, that churning sea of molten rock, is always moving, always reshaping what lies above. Magma pushes upward through cracks in the crust, forcing the land to rise, folding layers of ancient seabed into towering peaks. Each mountain carries within it a memory of that upward struggle, the echo of a time when the planet itself was still learning how to breathe. Take the Himalayas, for example. They were not sculpted gently. They were born from collision when India, once an island drifting across the ocean, slammed into Asia with unimaginable force. The impact crumpled the crust like paper, thrusting rock miles high into the sky. Even now, they're still growing inch by inch, as if the earth is still exhaling from that ancient blow. If you could touch the granite of a mountain face and listen closely, you might hear the faintest whisper of that ancient heat, not as sound, but as feeling the quiet hum of minerals rearranging themselves under pressure, the stored tension of 1 billion years. Even the coldest stone remembers the warmth that forged it. Scientists call these processes orogeny, the making of mountains, but the word hardly captures the poetry of it. Imagine continents as waves colliding, the sea floor buckling into walls of stone. Imagine the crust rippling, folding, breaking, then rising again, as if the planet itself were sculpting with invisible hands. The result is what we see now: the Andes, the Rockies, the Alps, the Himalayas, ridges of memory, frozen mid-motion. And yet, for all their might, mountains are fragile. Wind grinds them down. Rivers carve their bones into valleys. Glaciers scrape their faces clean. Erosion is the planet's way of remembering balanced creation followed by soft undoing. Even the highest peak will someday fall. Its dust will feed the sea. Its sediments will drift and settle. And one day, millions of years from now, those same grains will rise again as new mountains, built from the bones of the old. It's a cycle written in rock. Fire creates, water reshapes, wind remembers. When you look at a volcano, glowing red against the dark, you're seeing that first language of the earth, molten thought, made visible. Volcanoes are the planet's storytellers, translating the deep heat below into living sculpture above. Some destroy, yes, but they also create new land, new minerals, new ecosystems that rise from the ashes like dreams reborn. Mountains born from volcanoes, like those in Iceland or Hawaii, are younger, more impulsive. Their slopes are smooth, their hearts still warm. Others, like the Appalachians, are old and tired once giants, now worn to quiet hills by time. The Appalachians are so ancient that they predate the Atlantic Ocean itself. They once stood taller than the Himalayas, but their fire has long faded into memory. And yet, even in their stillness, there's something alive about them. Have you ever noticed how mountains seem to breathe with the weather? Clouds gather around their peaks like thoughts. Wind slides through their valleys like sighs. The temperature shifts as if they feel it too. And perhaps, in some subtle way, they do. After all, they are part of a planet that lives. When you walk across a mountain trail, you're walking on the ruins of oceans, on the remains of coral reefs, volcanic ash, and sand compressed into stone. Under your boots lie fossils of ancient shells. the remnants of creatures that lived and died long before there was even an idea of humanity. Mountains, in that sense, are graveyards and birthplaces, at once monuments built from memory, crumbling even as they endure. Sometimes, when lightning strikes a summit, the rock itself melts and fuses into glass. It's called fulgurite, the frozen trace of a bolt that traveled from the sky to the bones of the earth. In that single flash, the heavens and the deep ground meet two halves of creation shaking hands. If mountains remember fire, then perhaps they also remember silence. For every eruption, there are centuries of calm. For every violent birth, there are eons of stillness, snow gathering, lichens spreading, rivers humming softly through canyons. The planet, like us, needs time to rest after great change. The Japanese have a word for the sacred presence found in mountains, yama-biko, the spirit that echoes your voice when you call out across a valley. It's said that when you hear your echo return, it isn't just sound bouncing off stone, it's the mountain answering you back. Maybe that's not just myth, maybe it's memory. Tonight, as you breathe, think of the mountains breathing too. Their exhale is wind, their sigh is rain. Their heartbeat is measured in eruptions and quakes, in the slow crumble of cliff and stone. They may seem far away, but they are part of your world's pulse and in some deep way, part of you. Because the calcium in your bones once came from mountains. The salt in your blood once flowed from their rocks to the sea. The iron that makes your heart beat was forged in the same heat that once burned beneath their roots. You are, quite literally, made of mountain memory. So as you drift towards sleep, picture that the steady rise and fall of ancient ranges under the soft glow of stars. The world turning, reshaping, renewing. The quiet miracle that stone, once fire, can cradle snow. The mountains remember. They always have. And tonight, they whisper to you not in thunder or flame, but in stillness. They tell you that even from destruction, beauty grows. That every fall is followed by another rise. And that the fire that made them once also burns softly within you. The will to change, the patience to endure, and the calm to rest in silence. If you could see the earth from above, not just the surface but the deep shifting plates beneath, you'd witness a slow, elegant dance continents, gliding, colliding, parting again over hundreds of millions of years. What seems like stone to us is, in truth, always in motion. Beneath the calm seas and forests, the crust drifts on molten rock like rafts on a glowing tide. Each continent is a dancer, silent and patient. Some move apart gracefully, like South America drifting from Africa, their matching coastlines still remembering the time they were one. Others collide fiercely, India and Asia, slamming together to raise the Himalayas like the earth lifting its shoulders toward the stars. And beneath the Pacific, a vast plate dives downward into the mantle, melting as it sinks, feeding volcanoes that light up the night. This slow choreography is called plate tectonics, and it is the heartbeat of geology, the rhythm behind earthquakes, volcanoes, and the making of mountains. It's strange to think that the ground beneath you, which feels so still, is actually traveling faster than your fingernails grow. You are, right now, drifting across the surface of a restless world. The Earth's surface is divided into a mosaic of enormous slabs, each thousands of kilometers wide and several dozen thick. They float atop the asthenosphere, a layer of soft, heated rock that moves so slowly it's almost like honey. Where these plates meet, everything happens. Mountains rise, trenches sink, volcanoes ignite. Oceans open and close like slow breathing. Once, long ago, there was only one supercontinent, Pangaea, a single landmass surrounded by an endless global sea. Imagine standing on that ancient shore, where no human had yet existed, and seeing the world as one body of land stretching from pole to pole. Over time, heat within the Earth pushed it apart, breaking it into fragments that would become the continents we know. Africa drifted north, South America turned west, Antarctica slid to its frozen throne. The map of Earth is a moving picture, not a static painting. The Atlantic Ocean, for example, is growing wider every year by a few centimeters. It's almost nothing, yet give it 100 million years, and the world will look completely different. Cities will vanish under new mountains, deserts will flood, islands will collide, and new oceans will bloom where none exist today. If deep time had a soundtrack, it would be this: an endless, shifting hum of motion beneath silence. Sometimes, we catch echoes of this movement in moments of chaos, an earthquake rumbling underfoot, a volcano releasing a breath of fire. We call them disasters. But in truth, they are steps in a very old dance, a conversation between continents that began before life and will continue long after us. Think of Iceland, where you can literally stand between two worlds. The island sits atop the mid-Atlantic ridge, the seam where the Eurasian and North American plates drift apart. In some places, you can see the crack stretching for miles, filled with clear blue water. It's the edge of continents exposed to air. You can walk from one tectonic plate to another in a single stride, moving between what was once joined millions of years ago. Under the ocean, these ridges are endless chains of creation. Magma rises from the mantle, cools, and forms new crust. The seafloor spreads outward, carrying continents along for the ride. This is how the Earth renews itself, a slow, constant process of birth and recycling. Old crust sinks back into the deep mantle at subduction zones, melting into the same fiery material that will later rise again. Nothing is wasted. The Earth breathes itself in and out. Even the continents themselves are layered with memory. The rocks beneath Australia's deserts, for instance, are more than 4 billion years old, the oldest solid crust on the planet. Meanwhile, the seafloor of the Pacific is much younger, only a few 100 million years at most. In geological time, it's a child beside the ancient stones of the continents. And yet, despite their age and size, the continents never stop moving. If you could speed up time and watch 1 billion years unfold in a single minute, you'd see them swirl like petals on a pond. Mountains would rise and crumble, new oceans would flash open like silver scars, and all the while the planet would keep spinning, graceful and tireless. Scientists have even predicted the next supercontinent. They call it Amasya, a possible future landmass that might form 200 million years from now, when the continents drift together again around the North Pole. One day, Africa and Europe may merge, the Americas may rejoin Asia, and Australia might slide north into new territory. The Earth, as always, will begin the cycle anew. And through all this, life will adapt. Forests will spread and vanish. Oceans will deepen and change color. Winds will carry new seeds across new worlds. To the Earth, these changes are as natural as breathing. To us, they are unfathomable. You may wonder why the planet moves at all, why the crust doesn't simply sit still. The answer lies in heat. Deep within the mantle, radioactive elements decay, releasing energy that keeps the interior molten. That heat rises slowly, driving convection currents, vast, invisible rivers that push the plates above. The continents ride those currents like rafts on a boiling sea. It's humbling to realize that our cities, our memories, our entire civilizations are riding those same drifting slabs of rock. We build cathedrals, carve monuments, and imagine permanence, but the land beneath us is always shifting. Mountains that once stood beneath tropical rain are now covered in snow. Coral reefs lie buried under deserts. What we call stability is just a pause in motion. Sometimes I like to imagine the continents as old friends, reuniting and parting across the ages. Africa once touched North America. Antarctica once basked near the equator. They've drifted apart, but traces of their union remain in matching fossils found on opposite sides of the sea, in rock layers that mirror one another across vast oceans. The planet remembers. And perhaps, when we walk along a beach and feel the faint vibration of waves underfoot, we're feeling more than the sea. Maybe we're feeling the heartbeat of the planet, the subtle reminder that even the land we trust most is traveling somewhere. So tonight, as you rest, imagine yourself lying on a moving world. Beneath you, the plates glide in silence, carrying forests, mountains, and oceans like thoughts drifting through a dream. You're part of that motion, a small note in a cosmic waltz that began long before the first sunrise. And as you drift towards sleep, the continents continue their slow, eternal dance, graceful, unstoppable, beautiful. The planet turns, the crust sighs, and the ancient rhythm carries on, forever beneath your feet. If you've ever stood before a canyon wall or a cliff by the sea, you've seen the pages of the Earth's diary. Each stripe, each color, each thin line of sediment is a memory, a layer of time pressed into stone. Rocks don't speak in words, but they remember. They remember the rain that fell, the forests that grew, the creatures that walked across riverbeds that no longer exist. They remember warmth and cold, calm seas and violent storms. Every layer is a moment. Every grain of sand is a fragment of a story so old it humbles the imagination. When geologists study those layers strata, as they're called, they are, in a way, listening to the Earth's whispers. They read the planet's autobiography written not in ink, but in dust, minerals, and time. The language of stone is subtle. A thin band of dark shale might tell of a deep, oxygen-starved sea. A ribbon of red sandstone might mark a long-vanished desert, baked beneath an ancient sundae. A sudden, chaotic mix of gravel and mud could be the signature of a flood, a brief moment of violence frozen forever. The planet doesn't forget. It keeps everything. Look at the Grand Canyon. For instance, that vast cathedral of time carved by the Colorado River. Its walls are nearly 2 billion years old. The oldest rocks at the bottom were formed when the Earth was still young, when no trees existed, no birds, no flowers. Then come younger layers, stacked one upon another, like chapters limestone from when this place was a warm, shallow sea, sandstone from when it was desert, and volcanic ash from fires that burned before mammals even appeared. Standing there is like gazing into the soul of time itself. And yet, even the smallest stone carries the same truth. Pick up a pebble from a stream, hold it in your palm, feel its coolness, its quiet weight. That pebble may have once been part of a mountain crushed by ice, rolled by rivers, reshaped by endless motion. Its smoothness is the mark of patience, of years spent tumbling and polishing under the touch of water and time. Sometimes, layers tell stories of catastrophe. A thin line of iridium found in rocks all over the world marks a single day, 66 million years ago. The day a meteor struck Earth and ended the reign of the dinosaurs. It's only a few centimeters thick, yet it records the turning of an age. The world changed, and the rocks remembered. There are layers that hold silence, 2 long periods where nothing much happened, where seas stayed calm and continents rested. Even stillness leaves its trace. Sediment settled, minerals grew, and time passed quietly. These layers are soft in color, almost tranquil. They remind us that even in the planet's most dramatic story, there are chapters of peace. Some rocks are folded like fabric, their once flat layers bent and twisted by unimaginable pressure. You can see it in mountain ranges, where colors swirl like ribbons, the Earth's art created by stress and fire. Those folds are the signatures of transformation. moments when the planet changed its mind about what it wanted to be. There's something almost spiritual about reading stone. You're looking at events that took millions of years, yet they rest still beneath your fingers. The ocean floor once lifted into the light, coral reefs turned into marble, volcanic ash turned into fertile soil. It's all there, layered quietly beneath your feet. Rocks don't move quickly, but they evolve. Some form from cooled lava igneous rocks, born of fire. Others form from compression sedimentary rocks, born of water. And some form deep within the earth under immense pressure metamorphic rocks, reborn through heat and stress. They mirror our own lives in a way. We are shaped by fire, refined by pressure, and smoothed by the currents of time. In Scotland, on the Isle of Lewis, lies some of the oldest rock on Earth, the Lewisian gneiss, nearly 3 billion years old. Imagine that. Stone that existed long before plants, before the moon looked the way it does now, before the sky had the same color. When you touch it, you're touching something that has survived everything. Fire, ice, flood, extinction, silence. It's the closest thing we have to eternity in physical form. And yet, even eternity crumbles. The wind erodes cliffs grain by grain. The rivers cut valleys deeper every year. What was once mountain becomes soil. What was once sea becomes desert. But the cycle never ends. Erosion feeds creation. The broken pieces of old rocks form the seeds of new ones. Time recycles itself endlessly. If you could compress the Earth's history into a single day, humanity would appear only in the last second before midnight. The layers beneath us contain billions of years where we were not here, where other creatures ruled, where the air was different, where oceans glowed with strange life. And through it all, the rocks kept writing. They are the memory of the planet. In their silence, there's comfort. The world has survived worse storms than ours. It has burned, frozen, and healed. Every scar has become a new pattern, every fracture a new beginning. The rocks do not rush. They wait, they endure. So tonight, imagine yourself small but infinite, a brief moment resting on the long, patient spine of the earth. Beneath you, the layers breathe quietly, each one holding stories beyond imagination. Somewhere deep below, there's a layer being written right now, the story of our own age, pressed slowly into the crust, waiting for someone far in the future to listen. And maybe, millions of years from now, someone will. They'll touch the ground where you once stood and read the traces of this time, the dust of our cities, the imprint of our rivers, the breath of our age captured in stone. Rocks, remember, they have all the time in the world. And in their calm, they teach us that change is natural, that patience is strength, and that even the hardest hearts can be softened by time. As you close your eyes, picture those layers stretching beneath you, colors fading into darkness, silence deepening into stillness. The earth is speaking softly, in the language of pressure and patience. And if you listen closely enough, you might just hear it whisper back. The story of life is not written in ink or memory. It's written in stone, in shells pressed into limestone, in the delicate impression of a fern on ancient mud, in bones turned to crystal by the patience of time. Fossils are not just remains. They are voices, echoes of lives that once shimmered, swam, crawled, and soared across worlds long vanished. When you look at a fossil, you're staring into a paused heartbeat. The curve of a shell, the trace of a feather, the shadow of a footprint, they're all fragments of a moment when something breathed, moved, existed. And though millions of years have passed, that moment still whispers through the rock. Imagine a dragonfly fossil, its wings spread wide, so detailed that every vein is visible. It once darted above swamps, where giant ferns grew as tall as buildings. Or the skeleton of a trilobite, a small marine creature that lived for nearly 300 million years, surviving countless upheavals before finally disappearing. Each fossil is a page torn from an endless story, pressed flat and saved. The process that creates fossils is both gentle and merciless. When a creature dies, it may fall into mud, sand, or volcanic ash. If it's lucky, it escapes the scavengers and decay, buried quickly beneath layers of sediment. Over eons, minerals seep in, replacing bone, shell, or tissue molecule by molecule, until what remains is no longer flesh but stone. A perfect illusion of life, hard, cold, yet profoundly alive in memory. There are fossils of raindrops, of ripples in ancient seas, even of burrows left by worms. Nothing is too small for the earth to remember. Some fossils glow faintly under light, not with magic, but with the memory of minerals that once coursed through the living. Some still hold traces of original molecules, bits of protein, fragments of color, whispers of DNA that science can now read like half-forgotten songs. One of the most haunting fossils ever found is that of a dinosaur discovered in Canada, a nodosaur, so perfectly preserved that you can still see the pattern of its armor plates and the faint texture of its skin. It died over 100 million years ago, yet it looks as if it might wake up at any moment. Time has not erased it. Time has honored it. Fossils remind us that the world has ended many times and begun again. They speak of great extinctions and quiet resurrections. The ammonites that once filled the oceans are gone, but their spiral shells echo in every galaxy's shape, in every fern's curl. The line between death and creation is not as final as we think. Even our bones, one day, may tell a story. If buried deep enough, shielded from erosion and air, the calcium in our skeletons could slowly crystallize, turning us into echoes, two future fossils, whispering to whoever might come next. In that way, the earth never forgets. It folds our lives gently into its memory, and there is something strangely tender in that idea that we are temporary, but not lost, that even as we fade, a trace remains, and in some faraway age, that trace might help another mind understand what it meant to be alive. When we study fossils, we're not just learning about the past, we're holding mirrors to ourselves. The shapes of ancient fish remind us of the bones in our own hands. The structure of reptile skulls maps the same paths of muscle and sinew that move our faces. The echoes are everywhere. Life evolves, but it never starts from nothing. Every new breath borrows the rhythm of an older one. In museums, under glass, fossils lie in quiet rows, ammonites spiraling like frozen galaxies, giant teeth gleaming like stone moons, footprints immortalized mid-step. People walk by and whisper, as if afraid to wake them. But perhaps they're not asleep. Perhaps they're listening. Fossils are patient storytellers. They reveal that time does not erase beauty, it transforms it. A fallen tree becomes coal. A shell becomes marble. A bone becomes quartz. It's the universe's quiet promise. Nothing truly disappears. It only changes form. Some fossils still lie undiscovered, deep within cliffs or beneath the sea floor, waiting like unopened letters. The earth hides them carefully, not out of cruelty, but out of reverence. Each one is a secret, a memory sealed in stone until the world is ready to remember. There's a certain peace in that thought. When everything around us feels fleeting, fossils remind us that the story continues. Life persists, adapts, and leaves behind art made by nature's slowest hand. So tonight, imagine the ground beneath you filled with sleeping memories. Beneath the roots of trees, beneath the cities and rivers, lie the bones of whales that once swam above your head, the leaves of forests that fed their breath, the shells of tiny creatures that paved the floor of ancient seas. The earth keeps them close, not as ghosts, but as promises. And if you could listen, truly listen, you might hear them, the faint crackle of stone speaking in a language older than words. not of sorrow, but of continuity, of a truth deeper than time, that to live is to leave a trace, that even in silence, the memory of life hums forever. As you drift to sleep, think of that hum, the slow, eternal vibration of stone, remembering breath. The fossils are still whispering. They always will. Far beneath the quiet crust of our world, where no light has ever reached, there is movement. Slow, glowing, and alive. Rivers of molten rock twist through the mantle like blood, through the planet's veins. You cannot hear them, yet they are always there, flowing, pulsing, reshaping everything above. This is the deep heart of the earth, a hidden ocean of fire that never rests. Though we live upon solid ground, that solidity is only an illusion. The crust beneath us, so still and steady, floats on a restless sea of molten stone. This fiery underworld is the reason mountains rise, volcanoes breathe, and continents drift. Without it, our planet would be silent, cold, unmoving, and dead. Scientists call this vast inner realm the mantle, a layer that stretches for nearly 3,000 kilometers beneath our feet. It's not fully liquid, nor fully solid. Instead, it moves in slow currents, a viscous dance of heat and gravity. Rocks there behave like thick honey, solid enough to hold weight, yet soft enough to flow over millions of years. In that deep place, heat from the core rises upward. It pushes against the crust, searching for weaknesses, cracks, fractures, places thin enough to break. When it finds them, magma seeps upward through volcanic vents, forming chambers where pressure builds until the earth exhales. That breath can take many forms: a gentle flow of lava glowing like liquid amber, or a violent eruption that paints the sky in ash and fire. But most magma never reaches the surface. It moves silently underground, carving invisible paths, melting stone, cooling, and solidifying again. Over time, these hidden rivers become the roots of mountains, the skeletons of new continents. The earth grows from within, one pulse at a time. Sometimes, these underground flows rise close enough to the surface to warm the ground. That's why we have hot springs, the gentle sighs of magma, releasing warmth instead of flame. In Iceland, you can bathe in water heated by the breath of the planet. In Yellowstone, you can see geysers bursting into the air, each one a message from far below. The movement of magma is what drives the planet's endless renewal. It is both destruction and creation, chaos and order. When a volcano erupts, it seems violent to us, but in the grand rhythm of geology, it's simply the earth making space for new life. The soil left behind after eruptions is among the most fertile on the planet. Forests bloom again, greener than before. Life always finds a way to grow in the shadow of fire. In Hawaii, new islands are born from the sea as magma rises through cracks in the ocean floor. The lava cools in waves, black and shining, forming the foundation of new land. From that glowing rock, in time, soil will form. Seeds will drift across the waves. Rain will fall. Birds will nest. What was once fire will become forest. That is the quiet miracle of geology transformation through patience. If you could stand deep inside one of those magma chambers, it would be like standing in the bloodstream of the earth. Around you, liquid rock would shimmer in red and gold, moving like slow lightning. The air would tremble with heat. Crystals would grow along the chamber walls: olivine, pyroxene, feldspar, each forming in perfect order, following the laws of pressure and temperature written since the dawn of the planet. And if you could wait long enough, the magma would cool, harden, and become solid stone again: basalt, granite, obsidian. The rivers would sleep. But even in their stillness, the memory of movement would remain. You could hold that cooled stone in your hand and feel the echo of the fire that once flowed through it, a warmth that never fully fades. The magnetic field that protects our world from solar storms also begins here, in these depths. As molten iron moves and spins in the core, it creates invisible lines of force that stretch into space, wrapping the planet in a cocoon of safety. Without those moving metals, without those deep, hidden currents, the solar wind would strip away our air and oceans. The unseen rivers of the Earth are also its shield. Magma doesn't just shape the land, it shapes time. Every eruption, every slow cooling, marks a new chapter in the planet's biography. The continents we stand on were forged by ancient volcanoes that erupted long before our ancestors even existed. When you walk across cooled lava, you are walking on time itself, time that once burned, flowed, and froze. Even today, there are places where the mantle rises close enough to the surface that we can feel the planet's warmth beneath our feet. Mount Etna in Italy, Kilauea in Hawaii, Stromboli, Fuji, Erebus, each is a window into the deep heart below. When they erupt, it is not rage, but renewal, the slow turning of the planet's inner wheel. There's a kind of peace in knowing that the same fire that could destroy cities also builds new worlds, that deep beneath the calm soil where we sleep, the earth keeps moving, creating, becoming. It's easy to fear volcanoes when we see their power, but their story is also one of generosity. They gave us the land itself, the minerals we use, the atmosphere we breathe. Without magma, there would be no continents, no ocean floors, no mountain peaks. The fire beneath is not our enemy, it is our ancestor. So tonight, as you lie still, imagine the warmth of that deep world pulsing far below. Not frightening, but steady. Not chaotic, but patient. A silent ocean of light, carrying the memory of the planet's birth. Let it remind you that even when you feel still on the surface, something powerful and creative is always moving beneath. That every quiet moment rests on a foundation of motion. That even the Earth's heart never truly sleeps. As you breathe, the planet breathes too, one slow pulse of molten life, unseen but eternal. The hidden rivers of magma flow on, whispering their glowing lullaby through stone. Deep beneath the mountains, inside the silent chambers of pressure and heat, the Earth is performing alchemy. Not the kind that turns lead into gold, but something far older, slower, and more beautiful. Here, in darkness, minerals are born. It begins with chaos, molten rock cooling, water seeping through fractures, gases finding pockets to rest in. At the meeting points of these forces, atoms gather in secret patterns, aligning themselves into order. What emerges is not random. It is geometry written by time and temperature, the six-sided precision of quartz, the cubic elegance of pyrite, the delicate branching of malachite. Every crystal is a note in the Earth's long song of structure. A crystal is patience made visible. It grows in silence, atom by atom, for thousands or millions of years. Sometimes in clear cavities, sometimes in invisible cracks no human eye will ever see. In caves, they form forests of light stalactites and stalagmites, shimmering with mineral tears. In volcanic vents, they grow within cooled lava, hidden until the rock breaks open to reveal them. Each one is a whisper from the planet's chemistry, its quiet, unending experiment with beauty. The conditions must be perfect. Too much heat, and the pattern collapses. Too little pressure, and nothing forms. But when the balance holds, the results are breathtaking. A single molecule repeated endlessly, in perfect symmetry, until it becomes a visible shape, glowing with the memory of its birth. Quartz, one of the most common minerals on Earth, has been found on every continent and even on the Moon. Its clear faces trap light. Its lattice hums faintly with energy. Ancient civilizations believed it held spiritual power, frozen breath from the gods. Today, we know it vibrates with such precision that we use it in clocks, computers, and radios. The heartbeat of modern technology still follows the rhythm of crystal. Then there are minerals of color, the painters of the underworld. Copper creates the green of malachite, the turquoise of ancient amulets. Iron gives us red jasper and yellow ochre, shades that once painted cave walls when humanity was still learning to dream. Manganese gives the violet shimmer of sugilite, chromium, the deep green of emeralds. These pigments, born in darkness, became the colors of our stories. Every gemstone you've ever seen was once part of a much larger conversation between rock, water, and fire. Diamonds, for example, are carbon, the same element that makes up life compressed under unimaginable pressure deep in the mantle. They rise to the surface carried by volcanic eruptions, tiny messengers from the planet's fiery heart. Sapphires and rubies form in metamorphic rocks, transformed by heat into their brilliant hues. Opals are made not by fire, but by water rain that slipped through cracks and left behind silica, layer by layer, until the stone could hold light itself. It's strange, isn't it? The same processes that shake continents also create beauty small enough to fit in a palm. The same chaos that destroys mountains crafts gemstones of impossible order. That's the quiet paradox of geology. Even destruction has elegance. If you could wander through a geode before it breaks open, it would feel like walking inside a frozen thundercloud. The walls would glitter with tiny suns, each crystal reflecting another, the light multiplying until it feels alive. To the planet, this is nothing unusual, just chemistry. But to us, it's art, a reminder that even the smallest grain of sand holds a story that took the entire Earth to write. In some places, crystals form in the cold, in polar ice, in frost that grows overnight across windows and branches. It's the same principle, the same geometry, just quicker. A snowflake is a crystal too, one that forms and melts in a single breath. The symmetry is no less perfect. The universe seems to favor order even in its fleeting moments. Miners and scientists dig deep to collect these treasures, but the Earth never hurries. For every gem unearthed, countless more remain hidden, growing slowly in secret darkness. Some are still forming now, quietly beneath your feet, as water and pressure play their eternal game. And perhaps, on some level, we're drawn to them because they reflect something in ourselves, that desire for structure, clarity, endurance. Like crystals, we are shaped by pressure. We form patterns out of chaos. We polish through struggle until we find our own kind of symmetry. The ancients wore gemstones not for wealth, but for meaning. Amethyst to calm the mind, lapis to open the spirit, jade for balance. Each stone was believed to carry the voice of the earth, to steady the pulse, to remind the wearer that beauty is not made, it is grown. Modern science may have replaced the myth with equations, but the wonder remains. When light passes through a gem, it slows, bends, and scatters, painting rainbows where none existed before. That's what the Earth has done for billions of years. Take the invisible and make it shine. If you could place your ear against a piece of crystal quartz, fluorite, or amethyst, and listen, maybe you'd hear that slow music of the elements, the quiet rhythm of atoms locking hands. It's a soundless hum, but it's there, the pulse of creation itself. So tonight, as you rest, imagine those hidden chambers glowing far below. Picture rivers of minerals forming veins through the crust, carrying light in the dark. Think of how every grain of sand, every glimmering gem, is a small act of alchemy, proof that even in silence, the universe is always creating beauty. And as you breathe, feel that same pattern in yourself, the quiet order beneath chaos, the steady shaping of something new. You are, after all, made of the same dust, the same minerals, the same patience. Close your eyes. Let the earth's slow artistry cradle you. Beneath the ground, the alchemy continues, turning pressure into peace, time into light. If you listen closely, a cave breathes. Its air moves like a living thing, exhaling cool drafts through narrow mouths, inhaling warmth from the world above. Caves are not dead places. They are lungs of the earth. They grow, they change, they remember. Somewhere beneath a mountain or hidden under a quiet forest, a single drop of water falls from a ceiling of stone. One drop every few seconds. One after another, year after year, century after century. It sounds like nothing, a soft rhythm in the dark, but each drop carries a whisper of minerals, calcium, iron, magnesium, and with each fall, the cave grows. Where the water drips from the ceiling, tiny crystals build downward, forming stalactites, icicles of stone that stretch toward the ground. Where the drops land, others grow upward, forming stalagmites, slow and patient as sleep. When the two finally meet, they fuse into a single column, a pillar of time. This is the art of geology at its most gentle. Water painting sculptures from the bones of mountains. Inside a cave, everything moves slowly enough to feel eternal. The air hangs heavy with silence, broken only by the sound of water and the quiet hum of your own breath. In some chambers, the walls shimmer with minerals that caught a trace of light, long ago calcite, gypsum, or aragonite, glowing faintly like ghostly lace. In others, the darkness is absolute, older than memory, untouched since before the first forest stood above. The process that births a cave begins long before the first drop falls. It starts with rain. As water seeps into the soil, it absorbs carbon dioxide from roots and air, becoming slightly acidic. That acid rain filters downward through cracks in limestone, slowly dissolving it away. Over millions of years, the cracks widen into tunnels, the tunnels into halls, the halls into vast underground cathedrals. Every river, every spring, is the surface echo of this quiet dissolution. And just as mountains rise through fire, caves are carved by patience. They are the hidden counterpart to volcanoes, where one builds, the other unbuilds. Both are creative, both essential. In some caves, ancient rivers still flow, carrying secrets through labyrinths of rock. Their waters are black and reflective, mirroring ceilings filled with stalactites like stars in reverse. You could sail across them in silence, hearing nothing but the sound of the paddle cutting the water. Even your voice would sound different here, softer, absorbed by the stone, as if the cave itself were listening. Many caves are alive in another way. Microbes thrive on mineral surfaces, feeding on the faintest chemical traces, glowing softly under ultraviolet light. In their delicate colonies, life finds a way to exist without sunlight, living off the energy of stone and water. Scientists studying these organisms have discovered species found nowhere else on Earth, tiny worlds within worlds, hidden from the surface for millions of years. Some caves have preserved entire histories of climate within their layers. The rings inside stalagmites record rainfall patterns like tree trunks, capturing ancient seasons in bands of calcite. By reading them, scientists can reconstruct past droughts, floods, even the shifting of monsoons. In that way, a cave is not just a place, but an archive, a memory bank of the atmosphere itself. In others, bones lie half buried in the dark. Mammoths, cave bears, even early humans once sought shelter in these shadows. Their remains became part of the cave's story, fossilized and embraced by mineral flows. Every footprint, every tool, every mark of soot from a torch became immortal simply because the cave chose to keep it. One of the most beautiful caves in the world lies in Mexico, the Cueva de los Cristales, the Cave of Crystals. Deep beneath the desert, its chambers are filled with enormous selenite crystals, some the size of trees. They shimmer like frozen lightning, each one grown from the same slow chemistry that forms ordinary gypsum, only magnified across hundreds of thousands of years. To step inside is to stand within the heart of the planet's dream. Yet caves can be fragile too. A single touch from human hands can leave oils that stop crystal growth forever. Even light can disrupt their balance. That's why many are protected, kept in darkness, allowed to breathe at their own pace. The Earth needs these quiet spaces, places where time is allowed to move freely, untouched by haste. Caves have always fascinated us. Ancient people painted their walls, lighting them with flickering flames that turned drawings into living stories. They believed these were sacred gateways, entrances to the underworld, wombs of the earth from which life and death both emerge. In a way, they weren't wrong. Caves are where the planet turns inward, where creation folds back upon itself. When you stand in the dark of a cave, you begin to sense that deep inwardness. Your heartbeat sounds louder. The air feels alive, like a sleeping creature's breath. And as you listen, you realize that the silence isn't empty. It's full of time, full of memory, full of the faint echo of water shaping stone. If you could wait long enough, 10,000 years, 100,000, you'd see the cave grow, columns thickening, draperies stretching, pools deepening. You'd see color creep through minerals, as iron rusted, as copper stained the walls green. It would be like watching a slow, silent forest of stone unfurling beneath the surface of the world. And then, one day, perhaps the ceiling would collapse. The cave would open to the sky. Sunlight would pour in for the first time in millions of years, and moss would grow where darkness once ruled. The earth would reclaim its breath, exhaling through the new wound, and a new cycle would begin. Everything that forms must one day fall. Every hollow becomes filled again. That's how the planet keeps balance, by breathing in and out through stone. So as you drift towards sleep, imagine yourself walking softly through that cool darkness, the air around you still, the water dripping like a heartbeat. You reach out and touch a pillar older than language, smooth and cold beneath your fingertips. It doesn't speak, but somehow you understand. Patience, balance, silence. The cave's secret language. Above you, the world moves in daylight. But down here, time itself is dreaming, and you are part of that dream. There is a kind of magic that happens only in silence, only in pressure, only in darkness. Deep under mountains and ancient lava flows, far from the light of day, the earth performs one of its most secret miracles. It grows gems. They are not made quickly. They are not made easily. Every diamond, every sapphire, every emerald begins as chaos. Atoms wandering through molten rock, pushed and folded by unimaginable forces. Over time, slow, unhurried, endless time, those atoms align, bond, crystallize. Heat and pressure sculpt what the surface will one day call beauty. The earth doesn't rush. It never has. A gem is not a creation of chance. It is the planet's handwriting chemistry, expressed through color and light. Each one holds the record of its birth, temperature, depth, mineral, patience. If you could look closely enough into an emerald, you would see its internal scars, inclusions, tiny fractures, veins of memory. They are not imperfections. They are fingerprints of the world's making. Diamonds, the most famous of all, are born deeper than any other gem, more than 150 kilometers below, in the mantle's furnace, where carbon atoms are squeezed together until they lock into the hardest structure known to nature. For millions of years they remain buried, until a volcanic eruption flings them upward through narrow pipes of magma called kimberlites. When we find them, we call them rare, but in truth, they are simply survivors, fragments of the deep earth, still glowing with its first fire. Rubies and sapphires, though both born of the mineral corundum, find their color through trace impurities. A whisper of chromium turns them red. A touch of iron and titanium paints them blue. These colors, trapped in crystal, are the echoes of the rocks that surrounded them, like the language of the land spoken through light. Emeralds form in metamorphic zones, where heat and pressure meet the soft chemistry of ancient seas. They grow in thin veins through schist and limestone, where beryl crystals absorb just enough chromium or vanadium to glow with green fire. Hold one to the light, and you'll see the story of water and stone intertwined life's color born in the planet's deepest chambers. And then there are the quieter gems, opal, pearl, amber, formed not by heat, but by gentleness. Opal begins as rainwater carrying silica through cracks in the ground. Drop by drop, it leaves behind tiny spheres that scatter light in shifting colors. Each shade of opal is a captured rainbow, a slow crystallization of sunlight itself. Pearls grow within living creatures, built layer by layer by patient mollusks. Amber is tree sap, hardened and immortalized, sometimes holding the bodies of insects, leaves, and air bubbles from ancient forests. These are the gems of life, shaped not in the mantle's fires, but in the slow breath of biology. Every gem, no matter where it begins, shares one truth. It was born in darkness, yet made to hold light. That is its purpose. To take what little illumination touches it and multiply it, refracting, bending, scattering, until it becomes radiance. A diamond doesn't just shine, it releases the memory of the volcano that brought it forth. For centuries, people have believed that gemstones carry power, not just beauty. Ancient Egyptians buried emeralds with their dead to ensure rebirth. The Greeks believed amethysts could guard against intoxication. Medieval monks saw sapphires as fragments of heaven, fallen into the earth's embrace. Even now, though science has explained their chemistry, their mystery remains untouched. We still feel something when we hold them, a quiet reverence for time and transformation. In truth, gemstones are the perfect metaphor for the planet itself, forged by pressure, strengthened by patience, luminous in the dark. What we call precious stones are really fossils of energy minerals that remember fire, ice, ocean, and silence. Each one is a piece of eternity you can hold, and when light hits them, when sunlight passes through ruby or lamplight flickers against diamond, they seem to wake, to breathe. That's not illusion. It's the slow memory of their making, the trapped motion of atoms vibrating in symmetry. In their glow, you can see the rhythm of the earth itself. There's a legend from India that says, gems are the crystallized tears of gods, drops of divine sorrow that hardened under pressure. Another from the Andes claims they are stars that fell into the ground, trying to sleep. Science tells a different story, but perhaps all these tales are true in their own way, because whether you call it chemistry or divinity, the act is the same: darkness giving birth to light. If you walk through a gem cave, where miners once carved through black rock, the air feels strangely alive. Dust glitters in the lamplight, like galaxies. Every glimmer in the wall could be the beginning of something precious. The deeper you go, the quieter it gets, until the only sound is your breathing and the faint, almost inaudible hum of minerals dreaming themselves into being. The gems grow unseen, untouched, unhurried. Some take thousands of years, others millions. When we finally find them, we cut and polish them to show what was always there. But their true beauty was complete long before we arrived. They didn't need witnesses. They existed for the sheer joy of existence. And perhaps that's what they're here to teach us, that beauty doesn't need attention to be real, that transformation happens in silence, beneath weight, beneath time. That light is born not from speed, but from stillness. So as you rest tonight, imagine yourself in that deep stillness. Picture rivers of crystal beneath the ground, growing slowly, glowing faintly in the dark. Above them, roots and soil, oceans and forests, and finally, you breathing, sleeping, part of the same quiet miracle. Because just like those gems, you too were made from pressure and darkness. You too are built to hold light. Let that thought rest in you, as softly as the glow inside a diamond, calm, eternal, unbreakable. And as you drift toward dreams, the earth continues its secret work below, shaping new jewels for futures we'll never see, proof that even in the deepest dark, the world is always creating light. Beneath the waves, where sunlight fades and silence begins, lies another world, vast, shifting, and alive in ways most of us will never see. The ocean floor is not a flat plain of stillness. It is a landscape of mountains and valleys, ridges and trenches, volcanoes and plains. It is the hidden half of Earth's geology, the one that quietly builds, breaks, and rebuilds the surface of our planet from below. If you could drain the oceans dry, the view would steal your breath. You would see towering mid-ocean ridges snaking around the globe like seams on a blue marble. You'd see chasms so deep, they make Everest look small. You'd see volcanoes, trenches, and plains that stretch beyond imagination, a geography as dramatic as the continents, yet almost entirely unseen. This is the planet's secret machinery. Beneath the calm of the sea, the crust is being born and destroyed every moment. Where tectonic plates drift apart, magma rises to fill the gap, cooling into new oceanic crust. It happens along those ridges, where lava spreads in long, glowing lines, forming new seafloor inch by inch. You can think of it as the Earth's slow exhale, a continuous act of creation that began billions of years ago and has never stopped. As that crust moves away from the ridges, it cools, sinks, and thickens. Eventually, at the edges of continents, it meets older, heavier plates. There, it bends downward, sliding into the mantle in deep, narrow trenches. The Pacific Ocean, for instance, is surrounded by such zones, a ring of descent called the Ring of Fire, where earthquakes and volcanoes mark the places where the seafloor disappears back into the deep. So even though it feels solid, the ocean floor is always moving, always breathing. New crust rises, old crust sinks. Mountains of fire form beneath black water. Valleys collapse into darkness. The earth is recycling itself beneath the waves, one slow, graceful motion at a time. Some of those undersea volcanoes eventually grow tall enough to break the surface, becoming islands. Hawaii, for example, is a chain of volcanic peaks born from a single hotspot in the middle of the Pacific Plate. As the plate drifts, new islands rise, while old ones sink back into the sea. It's like a living conveyor belt of creation land, appearing, growing, fading, and vanishing again. And below the shallow sunlight zones, deeper still, life flourishes in places we once thought impossible. Around hydrothermal vents, cracks where seawater meets magma boiling plumes rise through the abyss, rich with minerals. Here, in total darkness, entire ecosystems thrive without sunlight. Giant tube worms, crabs, and strange transparent fish live on chemical energy alone, feeding on bacteria that convert sulfur into sustenance. These are the descendants of the first forms of life creatures that remind us that warmth, not light, may have been the cradle of biology. The seafloor also tells stories of ancient climate. Layers of sediment settle slowly across its plains, each particle a clue: volcanic ash, dust from deserts, microscopic shells of plankton. These sediments preserve the rhythm of the planet: ice ages, warm periods, mass extinctions, all pressed into quiet layers that stretch for kilometers. The ocean keeps our history tucked beneath its waves. Even sound travels differently down there. The ocean floor acts like an echo chamber, carrying vibrations for thousands of kilometers. Earthquakes, whale songs, the distant rumble of storms, all of it becomes part of a deep, endless symphony of vibration. Some sounds take hours to fade, like the slow heartbeat of the world itself. The Mariana Trench, the deepest known point on Earth, drops nearly 11 kilometers beneath the surface. If you placed Mount Everest at its bottom, its peak would still be a kilometer underwater. Down there, the pressure is so immense that a single square inch bears the weight of 50 jumbo jets. Yet even here, in darkness colder than ice, life persists. Small amphipods scurry along the rocks. Transparent fish drift through the void. The planet does not know emptiness. It only knows transformation. The ocean floor changes shape in rhythms far slower than any tide. A mountain may rise over millions of years, only to erode, crumble, and sink in another million. The seafloor itself will one day vanish entirely, swallowed by the mantle to make way for new oceans elsewhere. Nothing here is permanent, not even the deepest trench. But these movements, invisible and patient, shape the continents above. The earthquakes that ripple through cities, the volcanoes that form islands, even the climate we breathe, all trace back to this unseen ballet of plates beneath the waves. The ocean floor is the engine of the planet, and though we rarely think of it, we owe every mountain, valley, and coastline to its silent labor. Sometimes, when waves crash against a shore, you can almost feel it, the pulse of the deep world pushing outward. Each swell is powered by more than wind. It's the ocean's body, the surface echo of the tectonic breath below. If we could see time as the Earth does, we would watch continents drift like ships and oceans, open like petals, blooming and closing in cycles of hundreds of millions of years. What feels eternal to us is only a phase in that slow heartbeat. And yet, there's something deeply soothing in that realization. The same water that laps against the shore tonight has touched every continent, carried every story, risen and fallen countless times. It connects everything, rock to cloud, life to silence. So as you drift towards sleep, imagine the sea resting above that secret world. Picture the ridges glowing softly, magma flowing in ribbons beneath black waves. Imagine trenches yawning into the deep, their walls shimmering with strange, unseen creatures, all of it moving, changing, whispering in currents too slow for our brief senses. The ocean floors rise and fall like the chest of a sleeping giant. And above it all, you float weightless, safe, listening to the quiet rhythm of a living world breathing in the dark. There is a place where the earth speaks in fire, where mountains glow from within, and the air itself trembles with heat. Volcanoes are not just wounds of the planet, they are its lungs, its breath, its heartbeat made visible. Through them, the earth exhales the gases of creation, the same breath that built oceans, skies, and continents long before we ever walked upon them. Every eruption begins quietly, deep below. In the mantle, magma stirs, rising through cracks in the crust like thoughts rising through the mind. It moves slowly at first, invisible, gathering strength. Then one day, the pressure becomes too great, and the surface opens. What follows is both terrifying and beautiful, the planet remembering its own power. When a volcano erupts, it releases ancient stories. The gases that pour out carbon dioxide, water vapor, sulfur, are the same elements that shaped our atmosphere billions of years ago. Long before plants gave us oxygen, volcanoes filled the sky with the chemistry of life. Each eruption is, in a way, a memory of the world's beginning. There are gentle volcanoes, the kind that flow like rivers of fire. In Hawaii, molten lava moves in slow, glowing waves, spreading warmth across the dark. You can walk close enough to feel the heat against your skin, to see the rock forming beneath your feet, still wet and alive. And there are violent volcanoes like Mount Street, Helens or Krakatoa that roar, explode, and change the shape of entire landscapes in a single day. But whether calm or furious, every eruption is part of the same cycle: release, renewal, rest. After destruction comes growth. The ash that falls across the land becomes soil richer than any other. Volcanoes create some of the most fertile places on Earth. Fields where crops grow thicker, forests deeper, flowers brighter. In time, life always returns to dance upon the cooling stone. It's the planet's way of healing itself, of turning fire into nourishment. If you could stand safely at the rim of an active volcano, you would feel the world's pulse beneath your feet. The ground would hum faintly, a vibration too low for words. The air would shimmer with heat, carrying the scent of sulfur and minerals, the perfume of the deep earth. It is the smell of origin, raw, unfiltered creation. Scientists have learned to read that pulse. Seismic waves, gas emissions, ground swelling, all clues that the planet is preparing to breathe again. Yet even with technology, volcanoes remain unpredictable. They remind us that for all our instruments and equations, there are still forces older and wiser than us, moving at their own pace, speaking their own language. In Iceland, people call the volcanoes eldfjall, mountains of fire. To them, the land is alive, its warmth a gift, its eruptions a conversation. The hot springs that steam in the snow, the geysers that rise like sudden applause, they're all signs that the earth is listening, answering, and remembering. Volcanoes are also timekeepers. Each layer of ash and lava marks a chapter of the planet's autobiography. When geologists slice through an ancient flow, they can read the story of an eruption that happened millions of years ago, the rhythm of fire and silence, written in stone. It's a language of layers, the same one we see in cliffs and canyons, but painted in heat instead of sediment. Some volcanoes never sleep. Mount Etna, Stromboli, Kilauea, they are constant voices, murmuring softly to the sky. Others lie dormant for centuries, appearing extinct until one day they wake. Their awakening reminds us that beneath calm landscapes, the earth is never truly still. The same force that built continents still breathes, waiting in patience. Even underwater, volcanoes are at work. Along the ocean ridges, thousands of unseen eruptions occur every year. The molten rock hardens instantly in the cold water, creating pillow-shaped formations called pillow lava. These silent eruptions feed the growth of the ocean floor, slowly reshaping the planet beneath the waves. And yet, for all their power, volcanoes can be strangely tender. There is a moment after an eruption when the lava glows softly, cooling under the night sky. You can see stars reflected in its surface. Steam rises like breath, curling upward into the cold air. The mountain exhales, and for a moment, everything is quiet again. The planet has spoken, and now it rests. Some ancient cultures believed volcanoes were gods, manifestations of divine anger or love. The Romans worshipped Vulcan, the blacksmith of the gods, hammering sparks beneath the mountains. The Polynesians told of Pele, the fiery goddess who danced across the islands, creating new land wherever her feet touched. These stories were not wrong. They were metaphors for a truth we still feel. Volcanoes are not just geological features, they are the visible soul of the earth. The minerals they release form new land. The gases they exhale feed the air. The heat they give warms oceans and drives wind. Without them, our planet would be cold and still, a stone without breath. When you look at a photograph of a volcanic eruption, the fountains of lava, the clouds of ash, you're seeing the earth remember its first language. Fire, pressure, release. Every burst of magma is an ancient sentence in that tongue, spoken across millennia. And perhaps that's why watching a volcano feels so strangely human. We too build pressure inside. We too erupt, release, and renew. Like the planet, our emotions are molten things, destructive sometimes, but also creative, cleansing, transformative. The earth teaches us that even fury can become fertility, that even endings can become beginnings. So tonight, as you rest, imagine a volcano far away, its slopes glowing softly against the dark, its lava flowing toward the sea. Hear its deep, slow breath beneath the wind. It is not angry. It is alive. The planet is exhaling, and its warmth reaches you even now, across oceans and air. You are part of that breath, fragile, fleeting, yet infinite in the rhythm of things. Let the thought of that warmth carry you to sleep. The fire beneath your feet will keep glowing long after your dreams begin not to burn, but to remind you that creation never truly ends. There are places on Earth where time itself seems to sleep, where the air is thin and blue, and the horizon glitters like glass. These are the realms of ice, the slow-moving giants called glaciers. From afar, they look still, as if frozen in a single breath of eternity. But if you could listen closely, you would hear them sigh, crack, and shift. Glaciers move, inch by inch, dragging mountains with them. They are rivers made of stone-cold time. Long before cities and forests, before rivers found their paths, glaciers were carving the world. They ground down mountains, polished valleys, and shaped the landscapes we now call home. The gentle hills of northern Europe, the fjords of Norway, the Great Lakes of America, all were sculpted by the patient hands of ice. A glacier begins as a snowflake, soft, innocent, and fleeting. But when snow keeps falling faster than it melts, year after year, the weight builds. The lower layers compress under pressure, and the flakes lose their fragile forms, transforming into ice so dense it glows blue. Over centuries, that ice becomes heavy enough to flow, slowly, like honey poured across stone. What begins as winter's breath becomes a force of geological creation. Underneath, the glacier's base grinds against the rock, carrying with it sand, gravel, and boulders. Together, they act like a colossal blade, carving valleys deeper and rounding their sides into smooth U-shaped walls. Every scrape leaves a record. Every polished surface is a memory of motion. Even after the ice retreats, those marks remain lines of language etched into the planet's skin. Glaciers do not simply cut, they carry. They lift stones the size of houses and transport them across continents, dropping them miles from their origins when the ice melts. These scattered boulders, called erratics, rest quietly in fields and meadows, reminders of a time when giants walked the earth. The sound of a glacier moving is unlike anything else. It's not a roar, but a deep groan, a shifting murmur that rises from within, like the planet turning in its sleep. When a chunk of ice breaks away and crashes into the sea, it echoes across the fjords like thunder. And yet, even that thunder is slow compared to the glacier's true rhythm. Inside the ice, time moves differently. Air bubbles trapped within it can be tens of thousands of years old, tiny prisons of ancient atmosphere. Scientists drill into glaciers and ice sheets to extract these bubbles, reading them like scrolls. Within those frozen whispers lies the story of the planet's climate. Volcanic eruptions, warm ages, cold ages, even the faint traces of human influence. A glacier is not just frozen water. It's a time capsule, the breath of the world, preserved. There is beauty in their austerity, in the way sunlight scatters through a crevasse, painting walls of ice in blue and silver, in the quiet shimmer of meltwater streams, winding across their surface like veins of light. Glaciers are both terrible and tender destroyers and creators. When they melt, they feed rivers that nourish billions of lives. When they advance, they reshape continents. Their patience humbles the restless heart. In Greenland, the ice sheet holds enough frozen water to raise the oceans by 7 meters. In Antarctica, there is more than enough to drown every coastal city on Earth. These are sleeping giants, and though they move slowly, they are never still. With each passing year, their rhythm changes, a reminder of how delicate balance truly is. And yet, even as the world warms and glaciers retreat, they remain astonishingly alive. Beneath their weight, entire ecosystems thrive strange bacteria, resilient mosses, even tiny worms that awaken when ice melts and sleep again when it freezes. Life, it seems, refuses to yield even to the cold. When the last ice age ended, the glaciers that once covered most of the planet began to withdraw. As they melted, they released immense floods that carved canyons and shaped river systems. The meltwater carried nutrients that enriched soils, paving the way for forests and grasslands. Without glaciers, there would be no fertile valleys, no gentle rolling hills, only raw stone and wind. The landscapes they left behind still hold their signatures: moraines, ridges of debris marking the glacier's retreat, kettle lakes, where ice once sat and melted into perfect circles, fjords, where ice carved deep paths now filled by the sea. These are the calligraphy of ice, the world's cold handwriting across its own surface. In myths and legends, glaciers are often seen as symbols of time, purity, and endurance. The Norse spoke of Niflheim, the realm of frost where creation began. In the Andes, mountain ice is sacred, the source of rivers, the keeper of balance. To stand before a glacier is to stand before something that feels eternal, and yet, it too is changing. If you could walk across a glacier under a star-filled sky, you would feel the quiet pulse beneath your feet. The air would taste sharp, clean, almost metallic. The silence would seem total until you notice the soft trickle of melting water, the faint creak of movement, the earth breathing in ice. And as dawn breaks, the first rays of sunlight touch the glacier's face, turning it gold. For a few moments, the ice seems alive with color, as if remembering the warmth it has not felt for centuries. Then the light fades, and it goes back to sleep, patient, ancient, unhurried. Glaciers teach us that even what appears still is moving, that even what seems permanent is flowing. They remind us that change is not an enemy, but a sculptor, shaping everything it touches. So tonight, imagine yourself resting upon the cool, slow body of the earth beneath you, timeless and calm. Feel its movement, almost imperceptible, carrying you gently forward through deep time. The air is cold but kind. The stars above are reflected in the ice, and as you drift into sleep, remember, every mountain, every valley, every quiet place was once carved by this same touch, the patient, whispering hand of ice. If glaciers are the world's frozen rivers, then deserts are its sleeping seas. They stretch endlessly, shimmering beneath the sun, their dunes shaped like waves that forgot how to move. To most, deserts seem empty, vast wastelands of heat and silence. But that silence is deceiving. Beneath the stillness, deserts are alive, whispering stories of wind, memory, and time. Every grain of sand has traveled. It was once part of a mountain, a cliff, a coral reef. It was chipped away by rain, carried by rivers, lifted by wind, and dropped again, only to rise once more. The dunes you see rippling under the horizon are not lifeless. They are in motion, migrating inch by inch, like slow creatures crawling across the earth. If you could speed up time, you would see the sand flow like water, waves cresting and breaking in a rhythm older than language. The desert speaks in patterns. You can read it the way sailors once read the sea. The crescent shape of a dune reveals the direction of the prevailing wind. The color of the sand tells the story of its parent rock, red for iron, white for quartz, black for basalt. Even the cracks in the dried earth are messages, lines of expansion and contraction, breathing marks of a land that inhales heat by day and exhales cold by night. At sunrise, the desert glows gold, then orange, then white. At night, it turns blue, then violet, then black, a mirror of the cosmos. The stars there shine sharper than anywhere else, because there is no moisture, no pollution, no barrier between the sky and the soul. You can look up and see the same constellations that guided ancient travelers across endless dunes: Orion, the Scorpion, the Southern Cross companions to those who wandered before you. It's easy to think of deserts as dead, but they're among the most active landscapes on Earth. Wind is the sculptor here, carving stone into arches, towers, and pillars. A single gust can lift a storm that blots out the sun, carrying sand hundreds of miles. After such a storm, the land looks new again. Dunes reshaped, valleys filled, horizons shifted. The desert reinvents itself every day. Yet to the untrained eye, it seems eternal. Life here survives by patience. A seed may sleep beneath the surface for decades, waiting for a single rainfall. When it comes, sometimes no more than a few centimeters of water, the desert explodes into color. Flowers bloom overnight, painting the sand with purples, yellows, and reds. Within days, they wither and vanish, leaving their seeds behind to wait again. This is the rhythm of the desert: brief brilliance, long stillness, endless faith. There are animals too, quiet and clever. Foxes with ears so large they can hear the heartbeat of prey beneath the ground. Lizards that dance across the hot sand on tiptoe to avoid burning their feet. Beetles that tilt their bodies to catch morning dew, drinking from the sky. Even the camels, patient travelers of emptiness, have learned to store not just water, but endurance, carrying humanity across the dunes since history began. And beneath all of it, the desert remembers water. Ancient riverbeds lie buried beneath the sand, dry now, but still marked by their winding paths. In places like the Sahara, fossilized fish bones and coral reefs rest deep underground, proof that this sea of sand was once an ocean. What seems like emptiness is, in truth, memory turned to dust. Deserts are also archives of time. Fossils, petrified wood, and meteorites rest undisturbed there for millennia, preserved by the dryness. Some of the oldest rock formations on Earth rise from desert plateaus, crimson cliffs that have watched billions of sunsets. In the silence between the wind, you can almost feel their age, like heat stored in the bones of the planet. When the wind stops, the stillness is absolute. You can hear your own pulse, the whisper of your breath, the faint shift of sand beneath your feet. It's a kind of quiet that no city can offer, a silence so deep it becomes soundless music. In that vastness, you begin to sense the earth not as a place you stand upon, but as something alive that holds you. Nomads have always understood this. To them, the desert is not empty. It is full of guidance. The stars are maps, the dunes are signs, the winds are messages. They know how to find water by reading the flight of birds, how to predict weather from the shape of clouds that bloom on the horizon. For them, survival is not conquest, but conversation. The desert listens to those who listen to it. At night, the sand releases the day's stored heat in waves of warmth. You can lie on your back and feel it radiating through your body, as if the planet itself were breathing beneath you. The air cools, the constellations shift, and somewhere in the distance, the wind begins again, soft at first, then rising, shaping tomorrow's dunes. Deserts remind us that change doesn't need speed to be powerful. Wind and time, together, can carve stone as easily as rivers carve valleys. Patience, not force, creates the world. And perhaps that's their greatest lesson, that emptiness is not the absence of meaning, but the space in which meaning forms. The desert, in its quiet way, teaches balance between abundance and simplicity, between stillness and motion, between survival and surrender. So tonight, close your eyes and imagine the endless horizon glowing beneath a silver moon. The air is dry but soft. The stars are so bright, they almost hum. Feel the wind tracing gentle patterns across your skin, the same wind that has crossed continents, carried stories, and shaped the face of the earth. Somewhere, far away, a single grain of sand begins to move, nudged by the breeze. It rolls, joins others, and together they drift like waves, rewriting the surface of the world one breath at a time. The desert story is not silence. It's a lullaby, sung in sand, wind, and time. And as you listen, you realize that beneath the vast emptiness, the earth is still whispering, still dreaming, still alive. Sometimes, the earth receives letters from the sky. They fall silently through the blackness, glowing for a heartbeat before vanishing into the atmosphere. We call them meteorites, fragments of ancient worlds, travelers older than our planet, carrying stories written in starlight. Each meteorite begins its journey long before Earth even existed. Some were born in the swirling dust that surrounded the newborn sun, remnants of collisions that built the planets. Others are pieces of asteroids, shattered by cosmic impacts, or even fragments of the Moon and Mars, torn away and set adrift. For millions, even billions of years, they wander through space frozen, waiting until the pull of gravity guides them home. When one finally reaches us, it burns through the atmosphere in a streak of fire. For a few seconds, it becomes a shooting star, a flash so brief and beautiful that people make wishes upon it. But what's truly falling isn't light, it's memory. The meteor's glow is the last breath of a stone that has traveled longer and farther than anything else we've ever touched. Most burn away completely. Only a few survive the descent, landing as dark, heavy stones that carry the scent of metal and cosmic dust. They're cool to the touch, but inside them lie secrets older than mountains. Each meteorite is a time capsule of the universe, unchanged since before the first sunrise on Earth. If you hold one in your hand, you're touching the beginning of everything matter, forged in the heart of stars, fragments of the same material that became your bones and blood. The iron in your blood once flowed in stars that exploded, scattering elements across space. The meteorite that lands in a desert or field tonight is, in a way, a returning piece of that same family. Scientists study meteorites like sacred texts. Some contain grains that predate the solar system, tiny crystals, older than the sun itself. Others hold organic molecules, the building blocks of life. The famous Murchison meteorite that fell in Australia in 1969 carried amino acids, ingredients of proteins, proving that the chemistry of life began among the stars. In this way, meteorites remind us that we are cosmic children, born not just of Earth, but of the universe's dust. There are many kinds. Iron meteorites are dense, metallic, and ancient, remnants of the cores of shattered planets. Their surfaces, when polished, reveal geometric patterns called Widmanstätten, figures intricate lattices that form only after millions of years of slow cooling in space. They are natural art, born of physics and time. Stony meteorites are more common, made of silicate minerals like those found in Earth's mantle. Some contain tiny, glassy spheres, called chondrules, droplets of molten rock that cooled in the void, frozen mid-motion. And then there are stony iron meteorites, hybrids of crystal and metal, shimmering with peridot gems born in gravity-free darkness. Many meteorites land unnoticed. They lie for centuries in deserts, waiting to be found. The Sahara, Antarctica, and the dry plains of Australia are treasure troves for them, their emptiness preserving what the world forgot. Sometimes, a farmer finds one by chance, mistaking it for an ordinary stone, until its weight surprises him a small fragment of another world in his palm. Throughout history, humans have looked up at meteors with awe and fear. To ancient peoples, they were messages from gods, fiery omens of birth and death. The Greeks called them the tears of the stars. In some cultures, meteorites were worshipped as divine. The Kaaba in Mecca holds a black stone believed to be a meteorite, venerated as a gift from heaven. The Inuit used them as iron for tools, the only metal available in their frozen world. Even now, when science has named and measured them, they still hold the same quiet power. Because, really, what could be more humbling than holding something that has traveled across the cosmos to reach your hands? A rock that has seen suns rise and die, that has drifted through the silence between galaxies, now resting in the same gravity that holds your body to the Earth. Some meteorites carry traces of magnetism strong enough to move a compass needle. Others hum faintly when tapped, as if remembering the vibration of the journey. Their outer layers are often blackened and smooth, melted by their fiery entry, but inside they gleam iron silver, crystal green, or smoky grey. It's as though they still remember the stars they left behind. Every year, Earth passes through trails of dust left by comets, and the sky fills with light, the Perseids in August, the Geminids in December. We lie on our backs, watching them fall, unaware that some of those streaks end their voyage as stones landing quietly in fields or oceans. Each one a small messenger, carrying the same silent truth that the universe is still reaching out to us. Meteorites remind us that we are not separate from the cosmos. They fall through the same air we breathe, land in the same soil we till. The carbon they bring feeds into our cycle of life. The metals they carry become part of our cities, our tools, our art. Every time we forge steel or wear gold, we're reshaping ancient star matter, the same material that once fell burning through the sky. Sometimes, late at night, when the world feels still, it's comforting to think of them drifting above us, millions of fragments, orbiting quietly, waiting to fall. They are messages, not of doom, but of connection. Proof that everything in existence, star, planet, person, and stone, is part of the same unfolding story. So as you lie in bed tonight, imagine the vastness above you, the black ocean of space, the shimmering dust of distant galaxies. Somewhere out there, a small piece of rock is beginning its long fall toward us, glowing faintly as it meets the edge of our sky. In a few hours, or days, or years, it will arrive a letter from the stars, addressed simply to Earth. And as you drift towards sleep, think of that journey billions of miles through darkness, ending softly in the cradle of a blue planet. A story begun before time, finding its ending in your dream. The meteorites keep falling. The universe keeps speaking. All we have to do is listen. If volcanoes are the Earth's breath, then earthquakes are its heartbeat, sudden, strong, impossible to predict. They are the moments when the planet reminds us that beneath our quiet lives lies a body of restless energy. Each tremor, each shift, is the sound of the Earth adjusting itself, exhaling tension it can no longer bear. Beneath your feet, the crust is not a single solid shell. It's a mosaic of plates, drifting on molten rock, pressing, grinding, and colliding. Most of the time, they move too slowly for us to notice. But their boundaries hold immense pressure, invisible stress building along faults for years, decades, even centuries. When the strength of rock is finally overcome, the planet releases that energy in an instant. The ground moves, the world quivers, and we feel the pulse of the deep earth. For a few seconds, time behaves differently. Walls sway, rivers ripple, the air hums. To us, it feels like chaos. But to the planet, it is rhythm, a heartbeat older than mountains. Every quake, from the smallest tremor to the mightiest shock, is a note in the Earth's symphony of motion. The energy that escapes during an earthquake travels as waves, seismic waves rippling through the crust like sound through air. Scientists measure them with delicate instruments called seismographs, machines sensitive enough to record the faint vibrations of distant lands. In their curves of ink and motion, seismologists can read the Earth's stories where it shook, how deep, how long, and why. The largest earthquakes ever recorded move not just cities, but continents. They shift the planet's axis by fractions of a degree, shorten the length of a day by microseconds. Even the smallest ones, though, reshape the world in their own way. Cracks appear, rivers change course, new landscapes are born. The surface of the planet is not permanent, it is skin in motion. After a quake, the world often grows quiet again, as if exhaling. But below, aftershocks echo for months, the crust adjusting to its new shape. Mountains rise by millimeters, valleys deepen. The earth, like a living creature, heals and rearranges itself. To those who live near fault lines, Japan, Chile, Turkey, California earthquakes are both feared and accepted. They are reminders of where we come from, a planet still young, still shifting, still alive. These people build with the rhythm in mind, learning to move with the planet rather than against it. In Japan, there's a word jishin that means both earthquake and self-confidence. It comes from the same roots, ji, earth, and shin, faith. To live on shaking ground, you must trust both the planet and yourself. You must understand that stability is not the absence of motion, but the art of balance within it. Long before science, people explained earthquakes through myth. The Greeks imagined Poseidon striking the sea floor with his trident, shaking the earth in anger. In Norse legend, the god Loki, chained beneath the ground, twisted in pain, and his movement caused the tremors above. In Japanese folklore, a giant catfish named Namazu lived beneath the islands, and when it thrashed, the world shook. These stories were not ignorance, they were poetry, a way of giving voice to the deep, invisible movements of the planet's heart. Today, we know that earthquakes are not punishment or wrath, but balance the necessary adjustment of forces that never rest. Without them, the crust would grow rigid and brittle, unable to recycle itself. The same processes that shake our cities also build our mountains and shape our continents. The chaos that frightens us is, in truth, creation continuing its work. Sometimes, earthquakes reveal beauty in strange ways. A fault line exposed after a quake may show rock that hasn't seen the sun in millions of years, layers of color, texture, and history unveiled in a single instant. Springs may burst from new cracks, carrying water that has traveled through stone for centuries. Even destruction, when seen from the planet's perspective, is transformation. And then there is the silence after. Anyone who has lived through a major quake remembers it. That deep, eerie stillness when everything stops moving. Birds fall quiet. Dogs stare at nothing. The earth holds its breath. In that moment, you realize how alive it truly is and how deeply connected we are to its rhythm. We measure earthquakes in magnitudes, but numbers can't describe the feeling of standing on moving ground. The sensation humbles you. It strips away illusion. You understand, for one trembling instant, that you are part of something vast, not separate from the earth, but within it, like a thought within a mind. There's an odd tenderness in that realization. For all its violence, an earthquake is not the planet's rage, but its sigh. It is tension released, balance restored. The same crust that nurtures life also needs to move to stay alive. Scientists have discovered that animals often sense earthquakes before we do. Dogs bark, birds scatter, fish leap from water, insects go silent. Some researchers think they detect subtle vibrations or changes in magnetism. Others believe it's something beyond measurement, an ancient connection between living creatures and the trembling pulse beneath them. The Earth's heartbeat does not only reach us through destruction, it also lives in subtler tremors, the microquakes that ripple every day, too small for humans to feel. They are constant, gentle, like the whisper of breath during sleep. If we could listen with the right instruments, we'd hear the ground humming softly, endlessly. the lullaby of a living planet. Perhaps that's why, even after disasters, people rebuild. They return to fault lines, rebuild homes, plant gardens, and raise children on trembling soil. They understand something profound, that life and motion cannot be separated. The same pulse that shakes our walls also drives our seas, our weather, our seasons. The Earth's restlessness is the price and gift of its vitality. So as you lie in bed tonight, imagine the ground beneath you vast, layered, alive. Far below, plates press against one another, storing energy, waiting for release. But tonight, they are quiet. The planet is breathing slowly, its heartbeat steady, ancient, eternal. Feel the weight of that stillness. It's not emptiness, it's balance. You are lying on a living world, carried by its motion, protected by its rhythm. And though it may tremble again one day, for now, it rests, and so can you. Beneath the surface of the Earth lies another world, a mirror of the one above, built not by humans alone, but by the slow patience of time. Some of it is natural. Caverns vast enough to swallow cathedrals, tunnels carved by water or fire. Some of it is human-made, forgotten mines, ancient catacombs, buried cities whose roofs now hold the weight of centuries. Together, they form a secret geography, a shadow Earth, where silence reigns and memory lingers. When people first began to dig, they were following the same instinct as rivers and roots to go deeper. The first tunnels were shelters, safe from storms and predators. Later, they became tombs, then sanctuaries, then entire subterranean towns. In places like Cappadocia, in central Turkey, ancient builders carved homes and churches directly into volcanic rock. Whole communities lived there, hidden beneath the plains, safe from invasions. The tunnels stretched for miles, some reaching 8 levels deep. They had air shafts, wells, kitchens, even wine cellars, a complete civilization beneath the world of light. Elsewhere, miners followed veins of silver, salt, and gold into the dark. They left behind labyrinths that twist like arteries through the planet's crust. Some of those tunnels are still active, others are silent, flooded, or forgotten. When explorers descend into them, they sometimes find relics left untouched for hundreds of years. Lamps, tools, initials scratched into walls by trembling hands. In those small marks, the miners still speak, their echoes caught forever in the rock. And then there are the natural wonders, caves of salt, tunnels of lava, and crystal caverns that look like the dreams of stars. In Mexico's Nika mine, far beneath the desert, lies the Cave of the Crystals, where translucent selenite beams stretch as large as trees. The air inside is hot enough to kill a person within minutes, yet in that dangerous beauty lies proof of the Earth's quiet craftsmanship. Each crystal grew in darkness for hundreds of thousands of years, nourished by slow heat and mineral water. The result is a cathedral not made by hands, but by the planet itself. In Romania, there's another kind of underworld, the Mobile Cave, sealed off from the surface for millions of years. Inside, scientists discovered an ecosystem unlike anything else on Earth. The air is toxic, rich in sulfur, yet more than 30 species of insects and worms thrive there, feeding not on sunlight, but on bacteria that draw energy from chemicals in the rock. It's a glimpse into how life might exist on other planets, proof that even in isolation, the spark of existence endures. Some underground realms are made entirely of ice. Beneath the glaciers of Iceland and Antarctica, rivers flow through tunnels carved by meltwater, creating glowing corridors of blue light. They shift constantly, their walls melting and refreezing, changing shape like dreams. To walk through one is to feel the pulse of the glacier itself, alive, breathing, in motion. In other places, the underworld is filled with fire. Beneath Hawaii, molten lava flows through tubes formed by earlier eruptions. glowing red as it races toward the sea. These lava tubes are arteries of the planet's volcanic heart, carrying liquid rock beneath sleeping forests. When they cool, they become hollow tunnels, silent witnesses of fire that once roared. Even cities have their hidden reflections. Beneath Paris lies a labyrinth of catacombs, miles of tunnels lined with the bones of 6 million souls. In silence, skulls and femurs form walls, a strange architecture of mortality. Yet, even here, among the remains, there is a sense of calm. The catacombs are not morbid, they are peaceful, like the planet's memory of its children. London, New York, Moscow, all have their secret layers, built over older foundations. Forgotten subway stations, sealed bunkers, rivers buried under streets. To stand in a modern city is to stand on the ruins of older worlds, each one stacked upon the last. The ground beneath our feet is a library of civilizations, and sometimes, beneath even those ruins, there are deeper mysteries still. In Derinkuyu, archaeologists discovered a network of tunnels so vast that they connected multiple underground cities, each capable of housing thousands of people. Air shafts ensured ventilation, wells provided water, and heavy stone doors could be rolled shut to block invaders. It was a world below the world, proof that humanity, like the planet it inhabits, always seeks depth. But not all hidden cities are made by human hands. In the salt mines of Poland, nature and artistry meet. The miners of Wieliczka carved chapels and chandeliers from pure salt, their walls glittering like frozen stars. The air there is cool, mineral-scented, and filled with the faint sound of dripping water. Visitors say it feels like stepping into a dream made of moonlight and stone. There's something about the underground that draws us. Perhaps it's the comfort of enclosure, the sense of being held by the earth itself. Or maybe it's the mystery, the thought that under every step lies another world, unseen but alive. The ancients imagined the underworld as a place of spirits, of roots, of gods, and in a way, they were right. Down there, everything is closer to origin, raw, elemental, untouched by sunlight, but filled with memory. Even sound behaves differently underground. It doesn't echo the way it does above. It bends, softens, becomes more intimate. A whisper travels farther, as if the rock itself is listening. You can feel your own heartbeat echoing through the air, matching the slow rhythm of the planet. When you emerge from the depths, after hours or days, the light feels almost unreal, the colors too bright, the air too loud. But part of you stays below, in that quiet place where the world moves slowly and the earth holds you close. Tonight, as you lie still, imagine that hidden world beneath you. Layers of soil, stone, caverns, and ancient tunnels. Rivers flowing unseen, crystals growing in the dark. The quiet hum of mineral life unfolding, far below your dreams. You are part of that great depth, connected not just to the stars above, but to the deep breathing heart beneath. The hidden cities below never truly sleep. They wait, they whisper, and they remind us that the earth is not just our surface, but our shelter, a living temple whose deepest chambers are filled with silence, beauty, and the memory of everything that ever was. Every mountain you have ever seen, every snow-tipped summit, every ridge of stone, every silent peak cutting the sky began as motion. They were not always there. Once, they were ocean floors, volcanic ash, drifting sediment. But the planet, restless and alive, lifted them up, sculpted them with heat and pressure, and crowned them with wind and snow. Mountains are the bones of the earth breaking through the skin, the visible scars of its eternal renewal. To understand a mountain is to understand patience. Nothing about its creation happens quickly. It begins deep within the mantle, where magma shifts, and continents drift. When plates collide, one is forced beneath the other, and rock folds like paper under pressure. Over millions of years, those folds rise, wrinkle, and thicken until they push above the clouds. What we call the Himalayas, the Andes, or the Alps are just brief moments in that endless story, continents dancing, colliding, and rising again. Imagine standing where the ocean once was, now thousands of meters above sea level. Fossils of marine shells are still embedded in Himalayan limestone, proof that the highest peaks were once the bottom of a sea. The planet reuses everything. It never wastes. A shell that belonged to a small creature hundreds of millions of years ago now lies entombed near the top of the world. When a mountain is born, it is fierce, jagged, sharp, raw. Rivers cut into it immediately. Wind claws at its sides. Glaciers grind its flanks. It begins to die the moment it rises. But death, for a mountain, is not an end. It is transformation. Erosion carries its dust into valleys, its sediments into oceans, where new layers will form, compact, and rise again. The earth breathes in cycles of creation and decay, sculpting itself endlessly. Some mountains are young and still rising. The Himalayas, for example, grow a few millimeters every year as India continues to press northward into Asia. Others, like the Appalachians, are old and weary. They were once as tall as Everest, but hundreds of millions of years of rain and time have softened them into gentle hills, the ghosts of giants. Their peaks may be lower, but their souls are ancient. Inside every mountain runs a hidden fire. Deep faults carry heat upward. Magma flows within chambers, unseen but persistent. When that heat finds escape, volcanoes form mountains that breathe flame instead of wind. In this way, mountains are both the children of fire and the cradles of life. Their ash nourishes soil, their minerals feed rivers, their slopes host forests, and glaciers that give birth to streams. And when they die, when erosion wins, when their bodies crumble, those same minerals return to the sea, nourishing plankton, coral, and the next generation of stone. Even in disintegration, they are generous. Mountains fall so that new worlds can grow. Every mountain range carries its own rhythm. The Andes hum with the heartbeat of volcanoes. The Alps whisper with the grind of glaciers. The Rockies echo with the sound of melting snow, feeding vast plains below. In each sound is the same truth. The earth never stops moving. It only changes tempo. Humanity has always been drawn to mountains, perhaps because they remind us of eternity, or perhaps because they remind us how small we are. Pilgrims have climbed them in search of gods. Poets have written of their silence, and explorers have risked everything to reach their peaks. But mountains are not conquered, they are borrowed. To climb one is to step briefly into the oldest part of time. At high altitudes, where the air thins and sound fades, the planet feels closer. The clouds move below you, the stars seem near enough to touch, and the silence becomes profound. It's as if the mountain itself is listening, ancient, aware, patient. Some people say they've heard a hum at those heights, a deep vibration in the air. Perhaps it's the wind. Perhaps it's the resonance of the Earth's crust itself, the same low note that makes mountains feel alive. Even their colors tell a story. Young ranges are gray and sharp, their peaks unweathered. Older ones turn red and gold as iron within their rocks rusts and oxidizes. The Sierra Nevada glows pink at sunset because its granite holds feldspar crystals that catch the dying light. Every hue, every shadow, every fold is a memory of the conditions that shaped it, a fingerprint of deep time. Beneath mountains, vast roots extend downward into the crust-thick masses of rock that balance the weight above. This is isostasy, the physics of balance written into geology. Mountains rise high, because their foundations reach deep, just as light towers stand on buried anchors. What we see above the clouds is only half the story. The rest lies in darkness, invisible yet essential. And when the roots melt, when tectonic pressure eases, mountains collapse. Sometimes suddenly, in landslides and quakes, sometimes quietly, over millions of years, crumbling grain by grain. Their dust travels on the wind, settles in distant oceans, and becomes part of new stone. Nothing is lost. The atoms of mountains become the atoms of beaches, cliffs, coral, and eventually us. The calcium in your bones may once have been part of a mountain's heart. In myth, mountains are sacred because they bridge heaven and earth. Olympus, Sinai, Fuji, Kailash, all places where mortals and gods meet. Perhaps that's because mountains, by their very nature, strive upward. They are the earth's longing for the sky, frozen mid-motion. And when we look at them, we feel that same longing within ourselves, the quiet ache to rise, to see farther, to touch something eternal. At night, under moonlight, mountains transform. Their edges blur, their peaks glow silver, and shadows flow down their slopes like rivers of ink. You can almost feel them breathing, the slow exhale of cold air sliding into valleys. The stars above seem to rest upon their shoulders, as if they too trust the mountain's calm. And yet, beneath that peace lies motion rock, creeping downward, plates grinding, minerals transforming. Even as we sleep, the mountains live. One day, all of today's mountains will vanish. Their dust will drift into new oceans, and from those depths, new peaks will rise. The cycle will begin again, as it has since the first continents formed. The earth, ever patient, will sculpt new shapes, new ridges, new horizons. So tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine those vast silhouettes under the stars, their hearts of stone, beating in time with the planet's pulse. Feel the quiet strength of their endurance, the humility of their decay. The mountains live, die, and rise again, and so do we. They remind us that permanence is an illusion, that beauty is born from motion, and that even the tallest summit is just a moment in the Earth's long dream. When you look down at the ground, it feels steady, solid, eternal. But the truth is stranger, gentler, and more beautiful. The earth beneath us is not finished. It is still writing itself slowly, endlessly, with patience beyond comprehension. Every grain of soil, every trembling of a fault line, every drifting continent is part of a story that has no ending. The earth is dreaming forward. The surface we walk upon today is not the same one that existed when the first forests grew, or when the dinosaurs roamed, or when humanity began. Continents have broken apart and joined again like pieces of a moving puzzle. Oceans have vanished, new ones have been born, and it will happen again. If we could speed up time, we would see the continents glide like leaves on water. Africa slowly drifting north to fuse with Europe, Australia sliding upward, merging with Asia, the Atlantic Ocean widening, while the Pacific shrinks and disappears. In 200 million years, the planet may form a new supercontinent, a single mass of land encircled by sea. Scientists have even given it names: Amatia, Aurica, or Pangaea Proxima. Whatever it becomes, it will be both ancient and new, a reassembled memory of all that came before. Even the mountains we know will vanish. The Himalayas, still rising now, will one day erode to dust. New mountains will form elsewhere, rising from the sea floor. Deserts will shift. Forests will move. The poles may melt and refreeze in new places, changing the map of the world beyond recognition. The future Earth will not be our Earth, but it will still be alive, still breathing, still turning sunlight into stone and back again. Deep underground, the slow churn of the mantle continues. The same heat that once forged continents will keep working, folding, and refolding the planet's surface. The core, that molten sphere of iron and nickel, will keep spinning, generating the magnetic field that shields our fragile air. But even that will change. In 1 billion years, the core may cool, the field may fade, and the atmosphere may thin. The Earth will grow quiet, not dead but older, a wise planet dreaming of its youth. Before then, though, it will keep evolving. Volcanoes will sculpt new islands. Ocean currents will carve new climates. Even life itself will continue to adapt. Species we have never imagined will walk the shores of future seas. Trees with glass-like leaves may shimmer under alien suns. Perhaps intelligent beings, descendants of what we leave behind, will dig through rock layers and find traces of us, fossils of our cities, the imprint of our machines, the faint chemical echoes of our presence in the air. To them, we will be the ancient ones. Our time will be a layer in stone, a thin band of metal, plastic, and memory pressed into the crust. They might call it the human stratum, a line marking when one species reshaped the planet and then vanished, absorbed back into the great cycle. But not all change is destruction. The Earth has survived worse than us. Asteroid impacts, global fires, ice ages that froze oceans solid. Each time, life began again, rearranging itself into new forms. The planet does not despair, it transforms. Even extinction is just a pause between chapters. Right now, under your feet, that transformation is already happening. Minerals are forming in silence, magma is shifting, seeds are germinating in the dark. Every process that built the Earth is still at work, whether we notice it or not. The future is being written beneath us, slow, invisible, inevitable. It's strange to think that the ground we stand on will one day be gone, turned to dust or swallowed by the sea. But there's comfort in that thought too, because nothing on Earth is ever truly lost. Every atom continues its journey, from stone to soil to plant to air to star. The mountain becomes river, the river becomes ocean, the ocean becomes cloud. The same carbon that fuels our breath will someday return to the crust, perhaps to rise again in a diamond or in the leaf of a future forest. Some scientists dream of distant futures, millions of years ahead, when Earth's continents will form a ring around the equator or cluster near the poles. The sky might glow a different shade of blue, the oceans a deeper green. There may be fewer moons, or none at all. But through it all, the same heartbeat will remain, the gentle, invisible rhythm of geology. The sun, too, will change. In about 5 billion years, it will swell into a red giant, its heat consuming the inner planets. Earth's oceans will boil away. The atmosphere will scatter into space. For a moment, brief by cosmic standards, the planet will glow like a dying ember. But even then, its ashes will seed new worlds. The elements forged in Earth's core will drift through space, joining clouds of gas and dust, forming the building blocks of future planets. In this way, Earth will be reborn among the stars. We too are part of that destiny. The calcium in our bones, the iron in our blood, the oxygen in our lungs, all are temporary arrangements of matter that once belonged to mountains, seas, and skies. When our time ends, those atoms will return to the planet to join the next cycle. Life will begin again, as it always has. It is humbling, but also comforting, to realize that even as everything changes, the pattern remains. Creation, transformation, decay, the eternal heartbeat of the cosmos. The Earth has always been both fragile and infinite, temporary and timeless. Perhaps, one day, in some distant epoch, someone or something will stand upon the surface of a new world, a world born from our dust, and look up at the stars, wondering, as we do now, what came before. And somewhere, in the vast silence of space, The memory of this world, of its oceans, its mountains, its dreams, will still shimmer, because nothing truly disappears. It only changes form, waiting for the next awakening. So tonight, as you rest, feel the slow turning of the earth beneath you. Know that you are lying on a planet, still becoming, still imagining its own future. The same forces that shaped mountains and seas are shaping you, right now, in this quiet moment. Beneath you, the future is forming, warm, steady, patient. The story continues. At the end of all the movement, the rumbling, the rising and falling, there is silence. A deep, endless quiet that lies beneath everything, the stillness of the earth itself. It is not emptiness. It is not death. It is presence. It is the sound the planet makes when it's not trying to say anything, when it simply exists. If you've ever stood in a forest after rain, or sat on a beach long after the waves have fallen calm, you've felt it, that pause in which the world seems to hold its breath. The birds rest. The wind softens. Even your heartbeat seems to slow to match the rhythm of something vast and invisible. That is the stillness that speaks. It's the language of the planet when it has nothing left to prove. Beneath every storm, beneath every earthquake or eruption, the earth always returns to quiet. The crust cools, the rivers smooth, the dust settles. It's the planet's way of remembering balance, the steady heartbeat after the rush of creation. Without that stillness, nothing could survive. It is the pause between breaths, the silence between notes, the space in which everything else finds meaning. Scientists once thought of Earth as a solid, passive sphere, but they now know it hums. Sensitive instruments have recorded low-frequency vibrations that ripple through the entire planet, waves too deep for human ears to hear. They call it the seismic hum of the Earth. It's faint but constant, a quiet resonance born of ocean waves colliding, winds sweeping across mountains, and magma moving beneath the crust. Even when the world seems silent, it is singing softly to itself. That hum is older than language. It has been there since the first oceans formed, since the first winds brushed across the newborn continents. Every living thing, from the smallest cell to the tallest tree, exists within that vibration. You too are part of it. Your body, your heartbeat, your breathing, all follow rhythms drawn from the same quiet pulse. Stillness, then, is not the absence of life, it's the purest form of it. In that stillness, you can feel the weight of the world beneath you, the rotation of the planet carrying you gently through space. You are moving at 1,000 miles per hour on a sphere spinning through the cosmos, yet what you feel is peace. The Earth's calm is strong enough to cradle motion itself. There are places where this stillness feels almost physical: deserts at dawn, glaciers at twilight, the deep ocean when even light refuses to go further. In those places, sound fades until only your thoughts remain, and you realize how ancient silence truly is. It has existed longer than stars, longer than gravity's pull. It is the first and last element of creation. The Earth teaches this in its quiet ways. After eruption comes the cooled stone. After flood, the calm sea. After quake, the soft settling of dust. Creation is not endless motion. It is motion balanced by rest. The planet breathes in, cycles inhale, exhale, silence, and everything that lives follows that same pattern. We are not separate from that rhythm. When you stop to listen, truly listen, the Earth answers. The rustle of leaves becomes a sentence. The slow drip of water in a cave becomes a heartbeat. The wind through a canyon becomes a hymn. You begin to understand that the world is not mute. We are simply too loud to hear it. In stillness, mountains speak of endurance. Oceans whisper about patience. Even the stones under your feet, silent and unchanging, carry stories older than memory. They do not rush. They do not argue. They simply are. And in their being, they remind us that peace isn't something to chase. It's something that waits quietly beneath all noise, ready to be noticed. At night, when you lie in the dark, try to imagine that stillness. Beneath you, the layers of the earth stretch down for thousands of miles. Soil, rock, magma, metal, all turning, all alive, yet all perfectly balanced. Above you, the air moves gently, clouds drift, stars burn and fade. Between those two infinities, you rest. You are the meeting point of earth and sky, the moment of calm between movement and dream. There's a kind of eternity in that. Not the eternity of endless time, but the eternity of presence of now. The same stillness that holds a mountain holds you. The same silence that fills a cave fills your breath when you stop to listen. In that realization, everything feels connected, woven into one vast, breathing organism. Even our thoughts are geological. They rise, they crumble, they reform, and in the quiet between them, there is clarity. The same clarity found in the spaces between tectonic pulses, in the hush that follows thunder. The earth has always known how to rest, even while turning through space. Perhaps that's what it means to be alive and at peace at the same time. When humanity first learned to listen for earthquakes with seismographs, scientists were startled to discover that the instruments never went completely still. Even in moments of calm, the Earth's line trembled faintly, as if it were breathing. At first, they called it noise. But later, they realized it wasn't noise at all. It was the sound of life, the background heartbeat of the world. That same heartbeat moves through you right now. You are part of that line, part of the hum, part of the stillness that holds everything together. The ground beneath you doesn't separate you from the planet. It includes you. You are not above the earth, you are within it, as much a part of its music as any river or root. And so, as this journey through the whispers of the earth ends, take one last deep breath. Feel the air move through you, the way magma moves beneath the crust, steady, unstoppable, alive. Let your thoughts settle like dust after a storm. Let silence fill the spaces between your words. The earth is not asleep. It is listening, always. And in that listening, in that stillness that hums beneath everything, you can hear what the universe has been saying since the first spark of creation. Be still. You are home. Sleep now, cradled by the planet that never stops turning, beneath the stars that never stop shining. The stillness will hold you. The silence will speak. And the earth, patient, ancient, and alive, will keep whispering through your dreams.